Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers in search of creative teaching strategies. Whether you're new to the show or a longtime listener, I'm so glad you're here for today's edition of Highly Recommended. This week, I want to share the daily planning routine that is working better for me this year than anything I've ever done. Maybe it can work for you too. Figuring out how to approach time when it seems like there is never, ever enough can make a big difference in how you feel about your day. That's why I think a simple thing like a planner routine that feels really helpful is worth sharing today on the show. I've recently been digging into productivity for the Lighthouse, and I listened to Ali Abdaal's wonderful book, Feel Good Productivity, and took James Clear's masterclass on building habits. They both help me understand why my planner routine works well for me and why I think it can work for you too. At the start of this year, I knew I wanted to incorporate a few new things into my week, but I didn't want them to feel overwhelming. I wanted to drink more water, like everybody else, after years of ignoring it. I wanted to try to create a gratitude practice that felt really simple and doable, like it would actually fit into my life. And I really wanted to focus my energy on work projects that I care about. Maybe some of these things ring true for you too. Little by little, I figured out how to help myself with all these things at once in a 5-minute planner routine at the start of each day. So let me describe it. The first thing I do when I see that empty white column with my new day is to draw 6 tiny little water glasses down toward the bottom. This is like the simplest little form of gamification, but it works for me. It reminds me when I see those empty glasses that I want to drink water. I fill in the very first one immediately because I always drink a glass of water when I come downstairs in preparation for filling out the first one immediately. And I fill up my water bottle a lot of the time and put it in my backpack or put it by my desk because it just kind of reminds me of the whole water thing. If I'm going to do some kind of wellness activity that day, like take a walk or maybe do this kettlebell that I bought, I'll put a little note about that and put a checkbox next to it. And that reminds me that I want to do that. Okay, so above this little kind of wellness area in my planner, I incorporate this small gratitude practice that I've started. I just draw 3 little hearts, colorful hearts, and I think about 3 things that I'm grateful for that have happened lately. It could be like a person in my life that has done something that I really appreciate, or it could be an amazing food I got to try the day before, or a book that I loved, or whatever, just something that has really brought joy to me. I jot it down next to the heart. I don't spend a long time on this. I don't have like a gratitude journal where I write for a long time. But it's a reminder to me to just be thinking about these good things in my life. And I try to really picture the thing or the person or the moment specifically, because from the research I've read, like the more detail you go into, the more you really think about the thing that you're grateful for, the more it has an impact on your well-being and mood and perspective. And of course, I want to have a positive well-being and mood and perspective. Okay, so when those things are done, which altogether takes, a minute or 2, then I go up to the area of my planner toward the top and I start to think about my actual plan for the day. And the very first thing I do is pick out one really important thing I want to get done, and I write about that first. So there's recommendations everywhere in the productivity world about this. Some people call it like the big fish, the one thing. Ali Abdaal talks about it too. It's like the one thing that I'm going to put my most focused work time on. Today, it was this podcast. I want to start my day by writing and recording this podcast and not by like checking email and doing the dishes and, quickly throwing in the laundry. Because if I spend my most uninterrupted focused time on little stuff like that doesn't really have a big impact in my life, then there won't be as much of me later for the type of task that really takes my creative focused energy. So I always list one thing at the very top that's really important to me to do that day. Sometimes I put another thing right under it that's also pretty important to me, and I definitely am hoping to get through too. But the very top thing is the most important. After that, I write in my other priorities. I try to keep email down a few rungs of the list because I don't want email driving my work energy. It's important for sure, and I definitely check it and clear it out as much as possible every day and then move on. But I don't put it up toward the top because it doesn't take that creative energy. And I'm sure you're thinking about projects that you do that really take your focus and your creative energy, like planning a unit or grading a really important batch of papers where you really want to give helpful feedback. That's the kind of thing that takes first part of the day energy. So honestly, I almost never check off all the other priorities that I list at the top of my work day, but I work my way down and I get through whatever I can when I have focused work time, and then a couple of things toward the bottom very often end up toward the bottom of my list again the next day. Finally, I add all my meetings, my family commitments, my errands into time slots throughout the day, and I find it really helpful to just brain dump everything that might be on the back of my mind that might worry me throughout the day so that I know it's all in my planner. I know that I listed like the 4 things I need at the store so that I'm not burning like 1% of brain space throughout the day being like, don't forget to get that one thing at the store. I just know I'm going to the store at like 3 o'clock right before I pick up my kids from school or whatever. So after 5 minutes, I'm done. I have my day lined up in a way that feels clear and good to me. I've assigned different tasks to different parts of the day. I've prioritized what is truly important to me with my work time. And I've also set myself up for a few new habits to be successful, and that matters to me. So whatever your priorities are, taking 5 minutes at the start of the day to intentionally block your time, choose a key task to work on, and build in new habits you're trying to focus on in, as James Clear suggests, an easy and obvious way can help make them happen. That's why today I want to highly recommend you consider a plan for your planner in 2024 and maybe even swipe mine. Thanks so much for joining me today to talk about a plan for your planner. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay creative.